Sup? Let's get started. I'm gonna cut right to the chase. How to get started early on getting ready for being able to submit your college applications. Well, first off, you should be starting early, like I had just said, but what does that exactly mean? Does that mean that you're starting during your senior year? No, this means that you're starting during your junior year, preferably towards your second semester or during the summer that you are going into your senior year, because once things get started, it's going to go by super quickly and you might get overwhelmed a lot faster if you haven't been prepared during the summertime. So what are you going to be able to do to be able to help prepare yourself? For one, start using an organizational tool for keeping track of things. 3 different apps that you could use are Notion, Google Calendar, and each of these things kind of function for a different purpose, as well as I would use Google Docs or Word or whatever. Most people use Google Docs nowadays. I don't know a single Gen Z person who actually legitimately uses Word. Even if you are in college, like most people are probably just gonna format it into a Word doc when you're in Google Docs already. The reason why you're going to use Notion is to be able to write down your general things and details and some stuff that you might need to do. So like tasks, like a list of things like applying for the FAFSA, which we're going to talk about, and all these other different things. But for Google Calendar, it's for keeping yourself on track for deadlines, because those are going to be coming in very quickly. In particular is that FAFSA date, which is applying for government money. I'm getting a little bit too ahead of myself. Number 2, start working on gathering all the things that you've done and start writing your essays for your applications. But before you do that, you want to figure out whether or not you're going to use Common App, and then there's a second one, I don't remember the name of it, but I'll put it here. Get started on writing those things during the summertime before your senior first semester. Number 3, what I would do is sign up for a post-high school success group, and a couple of them include GPS, as well as this other one that I will put here, and other pre-college programs or whatever. Now, not everybody has plans to actually go to college after they graduate high school, if they graduate high school, because not everybody does. But like there are other opportunities besides college that you can also look into. I will be talking about those later as well, so stay tuned. But yeah, sign up for GPS and that other program. And also, the reason why you want to do this is because if you are in public school here in the States where I live, or if you go to a private school even, though I think that they would be a little bit more attentive to their students, because the ratio I think is different than if you were in a public school. But if you go to a public school here in the States, then your guidance counselor and your teachers have a very limited focal point on how much of your future they can actually take into consideration. So having other people outside of your guidance counselor and your high school teacher will be able to broaden the different places that you can go, because they might have something very specific in mind for you that might not actually be a good fit. So it just gives you a whole lot more options, and that's one of the things that was really, really, really key for me in deciding my college that I wanted to go to, is whether or not it gave me enough options. The 4th thing that you want to do is take the ACT or SAT, depending on where you are in the States. The SAT or the ACT will be the most, not heavy, but it'll be the thing that people will vouch for the most. If you're on the East Coast where I used to live, the SAT was the thing that was mainly offered, and then down here in the South where I live now, it's the ACT. So, but you can take both. And I would recommend taking both before your senior year, and I recommend this because you'll get used to the test, and not everybody is more comfortable with either or, so you got to be able to figure out which one actually suits you best for your test taking style, because it's not exactly like you learned the material. You're being tested on subjects that you may not have actually learned necessarily, as far as the different topics that they'll have inside the literature or English or whatever, but you've learned English, you've learned how to read. I'm assuming these things because you came onto this video. Though most colleges / universities are test optional now, you still do want to take the ACT or SAT, whichever one you choose, because the universities actually look at your scores when looking at the scholarships that you apply to within their schools. So let's take, for example, I think it was Carnegie Mellon that I had applied to, and when I got accepted into the university, they opened the portal for me to be able to actually look into the scholarships that they offered as a school versus, the FAFSA offering their government funds or outside scholarships that are not related to any of the schools that you're applying to. And they look at your scores when actually doing that. So keep that in mind. One thing that I would say, and I believe that the application process for submitting your scores for the scholarships is different than submitting it with your application. So that's why in this next one, what I'm about to say is do not submit your scores if they aren't good, because it's going to be detrimental to your application. My score for the ACT was a 26. Now that's a good score, but it's not good enough to be able to submit on my application, especially since it would have weighed me down versus all the other things that I've done. Then you got this 26. Only submit your scores if it's within the 29 and 36 range for, at least this is the quota on the ACT. I don't remember the exact equivalent for the SAT, but I'll put it here. So again, don't submit your scores unless it's within this range when you're submitting your application. I don't know if it's the same thing for your scholarship, so do keep that in mind. But also the reason why it's detrimental to your application, besides the fact that you have all these other good things that are a part of your application, that's why you're applying, it's also because your scores will lower the university's average for the students' SATs and ACT scores. And they really want to keep that neat and tidy. So if you submit your score and it's not actually within their average, then they're going to be yeah, we don't need this, because it's going to be putting us down to an 87% instead of 100, So just don't do that, because it's not going to be great. Because perception is key for these universities. That they're wanting to keep their accolades on top. That's the reason why they do this. The next point is to take some APs. You should probably already be doing this during your junior year, but and I don't think that you can take any during the summer, so definitely be doing this the moment that you're a freshman. Get involved in taking some AP courses in subjects that interest you, or ones that you have heard from fellow students that will probably not be that difficult for you. If you're in the arts, then I would definitely recommend taking all the arts, so AP 3D, AP 2D, and AP Studio Drawing and Painting. Do those ones. The other ones that I took, I'm currently retaking the AP Japanese exam. I have that on May 1st of this year. I also did AP Computer Science, which actually, if you're wanting to go into computer science, but the course that got you interested in computer science was AP Computer Science, you didn't like it. You got kind of the dirt edge of actually coding and stuff. AP Computer Science was not fun for me. It was not fun at all, because you weren't actually making something necessarily. You had to make something in order to be able to submit your stuff, because you had to submit your code and whatever, but I don't know. I have a different experience also because I'm homeschooled, so I wasn't actually taking the AP course. I was just taking the AP exam, so all that stuff. Then kind of tying into my sixth point, which is this one. If you have non-traditional schooling, i.e. homeschooling in my case, or if you go to charter school, I don't know if you're allowed to do that when you're in high school in the States, but if you can, then, non-traditional schooling, then take college courses through places like study.com, and also do dual enrollment classes, because then you'll be able to get college credit and it will go onto your transcript when you submit it to actual universities that you want to go to and attend. So the one thing that I will say about study.com or other organizations like it is that they harbor ACE credits, which is different than actually getting college credits. I mean, they can still transfer into being college credits, but it's the fact that sometimes not all universities will accept those credits, even if you did take the course and, pass the exam. So keep that in mind. Other than that, dual enrollment classes will transfer over super clean and quick. But I would recommend taking study.com courses if, taking something at your local university for dual enrollment is too expensive. Some good options for cheaper stuff for getting college credit, I would say, is Arizona State University, which is what I've taken a couple of my dual enrollment classes through. Also, your local community colleges would be great as well. They're usually not too bad for their prices. But for ASU, Arizona State University, what their process is that you pay $20 to take the course. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. But if you pass the exam and you want to get credit, then you pay $400 and then you get the credit because you passed it. So it's not really a losing situation, because again, it's only $20 and you get to take the college course and have the opportunity to get the credit. So that is a great thing to do if you have non-traditional schooling. If you're able to make it happen while you're in public or private school, I would still recommend doing that. I don't think it's as flexible, most definitely not, to be able to try and do something like this. So that's why taking your APs is a excellent opportunity, because those will also transfer into college credit if you take the exam. If you just take the course, you're not going to get credit for it. So those are my tips there. Hello there, Editing Jay here, and I realized that I didn't actually talk about a huge portion of this thing, which is number 7. Get connected to your teachers and mentors early and let them know about your process and let them be connected with your process. So they're going to be extremely integral into getting recommendations letters, because for scholarships and for colleges, they usually ask for teachers and mentors from you to be able to write those letters of recommendation. And they cannot be somebody related to you. So it can't be your auntie and your uncle. It can't be your madre and your padre. It can't be none of those people. It has to be somebody who does know you well, but they can't be related to you by blood. Or not by blood. I'm not talking about your stepsister either. So the whole purpose of reaching out to your teachers and mentors early is also that you're able to expand the group that's able to help you through this process, because you should not be going through this alone. In fact, one of my college essays that I wrote recently was about how the whole application process really fundamentally does not give kids a whole lot of options if they do not have help. So help should be built into the system, but again, in public schools and here in the States, they're not that great to begin with as far as it goes with the amount of funding that's actually going to the teachers and them being able to funnel different ways of teaching into each individual student, which is why I absolutely adore being homeschooled, because my mom is able to focus all of her energy onto what actually resonates and applies to me as a person versus a general student body. So that's why I say getting other people through these pre-college programs as well, because their whole job, their whole purpose for why they do what they do is to be able to make those connections for you through their services, through their mentors, and they offer such amazing help, in particular with GPS, because their mentors and the community body that they have over there, they offer pre-interview prep. They offer people to be able to help look over your essays and help edit them. They will help make sure that you're on track. They will be your best buddies in this. And your teachers if you are in public school, your teachers and your guidance counselor, there are not a whole lot of guidance counselors positioned inside of a school. They will be stretched thin, especially if you have a larger student body than most. So having this extra ring of support for you around your round table, being a student trying to possibly go to college or even explore alternatives, is so crucial. So keep that in mind. But anyways, I think that those are all my tips for today on getting started early. And the next video that I'll be talking about is beginning steps, like narrowing down your criteria for what a school should have, etc., etc., etc. And I actually talk about the FAFSA and stuff because I didn't actually do that. There's other things. But anyways, that is the end of this video. I will catch you guys in the next one. Ciao. Matane.